Hello and welcome to Channel Sport this morning. Many thanks for joining us again. I am Tyre Salam. This is what the show looks like. We're starting off the show with very, very good news concerning the Falconets of Nigeria. They are through to the next round of qualifiers for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. Congratulations to Nigeria's Falconets after sealing that 11-0 aggregate victory over the Central African Republic. Also sport this morning. This time around, let's go to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. They will be aiming to emulate the Falconets when they take on the same opposition later today. This time around, it's in a FIFA World Cup qualifier for the Qatar 2022 World Cup. Also on the program this time around, it's in the UEFA Nations League, where Spain have ended the unbeaten run of the Italians by beating them 2-1 in the UEFA Nations League semi-final. So for the Azzurri, their long unbeaten run of 37 matches is over, no thanks to the Spaniards. So that's it for the show. There's a lot more to come later on the show. But before then, I'm going to have to introduce to you my guest, Damilo Josaliu, joins me. It's been a minute now, Dami. It's great to have you on the show.
It's good to be back on sports this morning, and what a day to come back on the show, the day when the Super Eagles hopefully will give us a resounding victory against the Central African Republic, like the Under-20 women or Under-20 girls did just a few hours ago.
Fantastic. We'll see if that pans out, but it's going to be difficult because it must be said that it's a different ball game entirely, right? You know, they might be from the same country, but the Super Eagles are expected to face a sterner test later today against the Central African Republic. But before all of that, let's go straight to Las Vegas and bring you all of the updates concerning Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. I'm talking about the trilogy bout, which is going to go down this weekend on Saturday night, to be precise, as early Sunday morning. Yesterday was the final press conference, and these two players, or these two titans, had the opportunity of facing off one more time before they settle their scores in the ring in Las Vegas. Well, same pictures are coming from Las Vegas. Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, pardon me, as a challenger, came out first, and followed by the Gypsy King, the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. Dami, everything is all shaping up to be a very, very explosive and exciting fight between Wilder and Fury. There you go, Fury coming out as a champ.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. We're excited already. You already talked about how this is a trilogy. The first bout, you can remember all the way back in 2018, was a very disputed draw. A few people felt like, well, a lot of people felt like Tyson Fury was the one who won the bout. Some other people felt Deontay Wilder should have actually...
With the knockdowns.
Exactly. But when you now look at the second bout, the technical knockout that happened in the 7th round, Wilder was very furious with his team, especially the particular person on his side who threw in the towel. He's been taken out of the team as regards this particular one. But there's been a lot of trash talking, and we see this usually with boxers. They're always in each other's faces, literally, to see if they can get one over. And for Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, it has not been any different. Both men yesterday at their press conference were really talking tough. And I think this is one bout that will live up to the billing. We just wait to see whether or not it will be a knockout or it will go the full 12 rounds.
We'll say fingers crossed indeed. Before we go any further, let's go straight to Las Vegas and show you what transpired between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder in the final press conference ahead of the trilogy bout. Safe to say, it was verbal fireworks all the way.
Here's something that I think I need to say. It's like, Wilder said that I only won the second fight because I cheated. But then he goes and changes his whole team and does all this extra training and trains as hard as he's ever trained and bring on all his team and all that. So I asked the question is, if I only won because I cheated, what was the point in changing everything and doing all this other work? Can anybody answer that question? I know he can't, doesn't have the brains to. So no one can answer that question, can they? So the fact that I've egg in your face, bitch, is the word. That's what we say.
I don't have to manipulate my gloves. I don't have to do those things.
You have to do it all. You have to do it all.
So at night,
because you are a loser, and you're being trained by a loser. So that makes two losers. And you're going to get knocked out on Saturday night. No problem. I don't feel you, because you're a lying little dosser, insecure.
I don't have to fight another day in my life.
Doesn't matter.
I'm good.
Because your legacy's already finished.
I'm good.
All the excuses, you've been done.
Can you say the same thing?
You've been done. Finished.
Can you say the same thing?
You've been beat, you've been humiliated, and you've been busted.
And let's
end of.
End of.
And that's it.
Deontay, will you do us a favour? Can you stand up? We're going to do a face-off one final time. We have a huge show coming up for you on Saturday night. Massive respect. No, we're not going to do. I apologise. No.
What you say? No.
Bob Arum says no. Bob Arum says no. All right, we're going to leave it there. Listen, we do have a television show still coming up. Deontay, I appreciate you. Thank you very much, sir. It was good to see you. God bless you. Tyson, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. It was good to see you, mate. I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a good one. God bless you. That is the end of the show, everybody. Listen, we are going to send you back up to Andre Ward and Sean Porter, who are standing by and going to continue to give some analysis on everything that we just saw. Appreciate you all joining us, and stick with us for the rest of the television show. Thanks a lot.
Unfortunately for boxing fans and the media alike, we were denied the traditional opportunity, or the opportunity to see the traditional face-off between these boxers after the presser, you know, and that was because of the heated exchange between these two titans. They couldn't guarantee that it wasn't going to result in a fracas later on. So they just played safe and said no face-off, which is understandable, right?
Yeah, I think for me, in the whole presser, the two things I picked out the most, for Deontay Wilder saying to Tyson, for Tyson Fury saying to Deontay Wilder, rather, you are a loser, you're being trained by a loser, and Wilder, on the other hand, responding, get ready for war. I really just hope that this bout lives up to the billing, because like you said, it could have dissolved into a fracas if they allowed them to have that face-off, and then maybe we could have had some punches being swung even before we get into the ring. But of course, this weekend, early hours of Sunday, something must give.
Something is going to give.
An interesting bout.
Should be an interesting bout. Indeed, couldn't take any chances, anything that would jeopardize that particular fight. So it made sense for the face-off to be totally denied between the two boxers. We still got tomorrow to do our final preview of the trilogy bout between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Can always join us again for that part. Let's leave boxing now and go straight to the NBA and tell you it's preseason time, of course, so teams are getting ready for tip-off of the 2021-2022 season, which is going to start on October the 19th. We've got results for you from the games that we played late last night and early this morning, starting with the Lakers against the Phoenix Suns. And it's not good news at all concerning LA Lakers because they lost for the second straight time. This time around, it was against the Phoenix Suns, 105-117. The Orlando Magic were also in action. It was against the Pelicans, 104-86 in favor of New Orleans. The Warriors won again. This time they played against the Denver Nuggets and they won 118-116. The San Antonio Spurs were in action against the Detroit Pistons. It was the Pistons that were victorious on the day, 115-105. Elsewhere, the Mavericks defeated the Utah Jazz 111-101, while the Clippers were beaten by the Sacramento Kings 113-98. We're going to focus on the LA Lakers for obvious reasons. You know, one of the most, if not the most glamorous franchise, you know, out there in the NBA. They have all the superstars. We've seen their roster for this season is incredible.
Added Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's still LeBron James. He didn't play in this preseason game. Anthony Davis hitting 14 points, even though they went on to lose. A lot has been expected of this Lakers side after the disappointment of last season in the playoffs. You know, they won it 2 years ago, and LeBron James, any team with LeBron James will always want to see if they can go on to win the championship. Now that they've added Russell Westbrook, a few weeks back he was talking about how his duty is to help Anthony Davis go on to become the best player that he can become. We know Russell always takes his triple doubles wherever he goes to. Not good that they've lost back-to-back games, but I think for the Lakers, once all the players are back on the roster, they will expect so much, despite the fact that it's looking like an old roster at this point.
That's what it is.
But LeBron doesn't really care about his age. He just wants to win and ring.
The average age of the Lakers roster is just about 31, oldest in the league. So, you know, pundits and fans are like wondering if they will have enough gas left in the tank for regular season that has about 82 games and a playoff run as well too. But fingers crossed, we're going to see how that pans out. But for this particular game, there was no LeBron James, like Danny said, there was no Russell Westbrook, but there was Anthony Davis who started the game at center, played 25 minutes, recorded 14 points, 8 boards, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Another new acquisition for the season was Carmelo Anthony. Yeah. Carmelo featured in this game as well, going for 8 points in 17 minutes. In the absence of LeBron and Russell, Malik Monk had yet another impressive scoring game off the bench for a second straight contest, hitting 7 of 11 shots, 4 of 7 from the three-point range towards a game high, 18 points plus 3 assists in 22 minutes. So Malik Monk perhaps might be one of those guys that will be bringing the heat from the bench.
Yeah, that's what you have to do when you are not in the starting 5 and when some of the regulars are not in the team, especially in preseason games where you get your opportunity, you take it, and then 18 points, high scorer in the whole of the game. It shows you that he understands what his duty is. I am probably going to be a bench player, but these few minutes that I get, I must make the coach rethink his starting 5.
Indeed, Malik Monk obviously, apparently understands the assignments and he's definitely, you know, answering it to the best of his ability. For the Suns, they featured almost all of the players with the exception of Devin Booker. They were led by Chris Paul's 11 assists plus 14 points and 10 rebounds from DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre's got a bit of a problem with the team right now. Wants a max rookie extension.
Yep.
The team, you know, dithering. They're not very sure about giving him that deal.
Not totally enthused about that one, obviously, the Phoenix Suns. I think it's an important decision that will have to be made eventually.
Yep.
He's an important player for them. We know what Chris Paul brings to this side, and they had a wonderful run in the playoffs last season. To consolidate and to go one step further, they need to keep as many of their star players as possible. Devin Booker is an amazing player. I mentioned Chris Paul, but DeAndre Ayton is also one important player for the Phoenix Suns. And if they can't sort out the contract situation, then he probably might opt for a trade in 1 or 2 years, and the Suns would have to see if they can replace him.
Yeah, they can't. I don't think they can afford to lose DeAndre, not especially when he's starting to grow into a very, very good player in the NBA. Still very young as well. So fingers crossed that we'll see how that contract situation between the Phoenix Suns and DeAndre Ayton ends. That's it for basketball for now. You can always join us tomorrow for more preseason games updates. Let's move over to Turkey now and tell you about the curling. That's the pre-Winter Olympics curling competition going there right now. Nigeria, of course, is a part of that competition. They lost their first game narrowly. They won their second game, and they will be in action later today as well. So they've got 2 matches. I'm talking about that's the results of the game against Slovenia. They won 11-10. But today they'll be in action against Turkey and Brazil. They'll be hoping to get 2 victories to advance into the next round of qualifiers. I always say when you see people, you know, doing incredible things like this, attempting very strange sports to our parts, I think they deserve a lot of commendation. And shout out to Susanna Cole and to Johnny Cole representing the country in Turkey right now.
Yeah, amazing. And I think also the fact that they've been able to get a win. They lost the first match, even though the second one was a narrow win against Slovenia. They were able to edge that particular one. Hopefully that gives us the platform. It will be very tricky playing 2 matches at once. And talking about the host being one of them and Brazil. But I think at this stage, the most important thing is the fact that they attempted this, the representation. Remember what happened with the bobsled team a few years ago? They were the talk of the whole country. And after whatever happens in this particular one, we see how they build. Maybe one of the 2 matches, if we can win, I think it will be tricky to win both, but if we can get one win, I'll be super excited what they're doing.
Yeah, you're spot on, and they're doing all of this with little to no support from the authorities, which even makes their efforts even, you know, much more commendable, right? All right, so good luck, all the best to Team Nigeria at the pre-Winter Olympics qualification. That's for curling going on in Turkey right now. Let's leave that and come back home and tell you about the Falconets of Nigeria. They are through to the next round of qualifiers for the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup after expectedly sealing the second leg victory against Central African Republic. This time around, it ended 4-0. First leg ended 7. So
it was done in the first.
It was done already. Let's be honest about
the second leg.
Let's forget the humility. It was done and dusted. This was just a formality, and they still went there, took it very seriously, very professional about it, and got a 4-0 victory.
Yeah, 11-0 on aggregates. Maybe the aggregate score reflecting the number of players that you have in the starting 11 as regards a particular game. Really interesting. We know our women or our girls. I always say our women. Forget that.
Girls,
they are on the 20.
Yeah.
They are our girls. Great performance for them. And then now the next step is next stage of qualifiers because we know the goal is the World Cup,
right?
The Under-20 World Cup, and that is what we're looking at. We've always been a really interesting force as regards African football at age-grade competitions. It's high time we took that to the world stage. So let's get to that competition first of all, and we can stake a claim against some of the other big nations as regards Under-20 women's football.
Indeed, talking about next step, it's going to be Nigeria taking on the winner between Egypt or the DRC for a place in the next round of qualifiers. Messi Udoko scored twice in this particular victory for Nigeria. We're going to take a listen now to our post-match thoughts.
Teamwork. It's the teamwork. With the help of my teammates, we work together. That's how we got to go. Not for me alone. You know, away to with the tough mind we took that away match. They actually came here to block the goal so that the goal won't be much like that. So and we can't do anything about that. With our work and hard working, we get the 4th goal. So I'm still happy. We'll train more harder than this. Our mind will be up forward more than this. And we push forward so I'll get more goals than these 4 goals.
Yes, it's to keep working hard. Football is about goal scoring, and that's what we keep working on. You know, when you score goals, that's what makes the game. There is no missing link. Football is this. Wherever you go, you try somewhere, the person should come and get better. It's not as if you relaxed also, but I mean, that's football for you. Yes, we know how passionate Nigerians are about qualifying for the World Cup and going and doing well. So this match has been done and dusted. What we're trying to do now is gather ourselves again, begin to think about the next hurdle ahead. Before you play any team, you have to check, you have to get enough information to know their strengths, their weaknesses, and how you plan. So, of course, I've watched them.
That's the coach of the Falconets, Christopher Danjuma, sounded very much like he
just won 11-0.
He just won 11-0. And it sounds like he was he took the game very seriously. And it's talked about scouting the opposition. Usually you don't hear a lot of coaches in this part say that, but then it's 2021 now, and there's a lot that goes into preparing for games of this magnitude. Next up is going to be Egypt or DRC, like I said, and that looks for me and for like a lot of people will be a sterner test for the Falconets.
It will be, and I like the fact that he's very particular about knowing the weaknesses of the opposition, because as much as usually a lot of teams or a lot of people say focus on your strengths when you're playing and then do not be reactive, you also need to be prepared, because you can tailor your strengths to really, really nip at the weaknesses of your opponents. So regardless, he has to actually find out what happens between Egypt and the DRC. Whoever goes on to qualify, do an extensive analysis on them so we know exactly what we're coming up against. And I expect all the best from the Under-20 team. All
right, that's what we're expecting, whoever the take on. The Falconets are very good on the continent, arguably the best on the continent. They've been to the World Cup before. They want to go there again and perhaps go one step further and win the competition altogether now. I'm in the finals now. Couple of finals already.
2-3?
There you go.
I think.
Yeah, so they want to go one step further. But before then, they've got to qualify, first of all, and that's what they are attempting to do at the moment. We need to go on a break now. When we come back, we'll be listening to the president of the Nigeria Football Federation, Amaj Pinnick, talking about how to continue to develop women's football in the country. Join us again. Yes, it's all about strategizing and re-strategizing. That's the message coming from the president of the Nigeria Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick. And that's because the other teams are not waiting.
No.
We've seen examples, recent examples, as recent as a couple of weeks ago, right here in Nigeria, when South Africa came and absolutely wiped the floor with Super Falcons. That's what happened.
We saw it also at the last Women's Cup of Nations, where we played South Africa in the first match, we lost, and then we eventually had to beat them on penalties. It's obvious that the gap has been closing, and the way to secure the future of the women's national team is to ensure that at this age grade level, we were talking off air how between 2010 and 2014, at the under-20 tournament, we made 2 finals and 1 semi-final in 2012. We need to go back to that stage where we're making deep runs into the tournament on the world stage. And what better way than to do it at under 13, under 15, and under 17 level?
Indeed. Sports On can never overemphasize the importance of getting it right at the grassroots level. Talking about another example to show that these other African countries have closed the gap. Nigeria didn't qualify for the Olympics.
Not good enough.
Not good enough.
Men and women. Men
and women, unfortunately. All right, that's it for the Falconets. We will definitely keep an eye on their next opponent for the FIFA Under-20 World Cup qualifiers. It's time to move on and talk about the big one now. The Super Eagles of Nigeria, they're in town and they're ready to, soar perhaps against the Central African Republic later today at the Teslim Balogun Stadium. These are the fixtures of the games that were played across the continent later today, starting, of course, with Nigeria taking on CAR. There's also Liberia versus Cape Verde. That particular game is of interest to us as well because it's the same group for the country. There's also DR Congo, Madagascar, Tanzania, Benin Republic, Equatorial Guinea taking on Zambia, Rwanda versus Uganda, Tunisia versus Mauritania. And last but not the least is Mali versus Kenya. Bada Kitunde Johnson is ready and raring to go to do and help us with a comprehensive preview of the match involving the Super Eagles of Nigeria and the Central African Republic. Bada, always a delight to have you on Sport this morning.
Morning, Tyre. Always a pleasure. And on the morning of the game, a World Cup qualifier between Nigeria and Central African Republic feels even more special to be here.
I know.
Looking ahead to what I believe would be a good showing, a good outing for the Super Eagles. There's no reason for us to not believe that. It's a game that there's got a lot riding on it. We do this maximum points over Central African Republic as it should be expected, and we put ourselves in with a big shout to qualify for the Mundial. Nothing is taken for granted. These guys, as we saw against Cape Verde, will have to play their best to get anything out of that game. It took two mistakes by the Cape Verdeans for us to beat them. So again, there are worries and concerns about how the Super Eagles will line up in midfield. We may have an idea of what personnel, especially in central midfield, will replace Ndidi and Iwobi, but how they gel together and how that provides the firepower or the supply for the attackers, the Osimhens and Awunis, is what remains to be seen. I think that our best option might be to go through the wings, where Simon and Chidera should be starting out, because it would seem like in our last game, those were the areas where we had the most joy. Central midfield wasn't really our forte in terms of being able to find those intricate passing and movement going in those areas. So I expect a lot of wing play today. I expect that most of our best chances would arrive from the wide areas. And a lot of it will be down to the quality of the deliveries of Moses Simon, for instance, and Ejuke Chidera, I think. In the last game against Cape Verde, particularly Moses Simon didn't cover himself with a lot of glory. The quality of his final balls left a lot to be desired, and I hope that there's an improvement in that regard today. Again, it'll be interesting to see how General deploys senior man Kels. I think that he might just be that link between midfield and attack, because he's a goal scorer, but he also can drop deep, play those 1-2s, create chances as much as he can score. So when I look at the team, I feel like our most potent threat will come from wide areas, like I already said, and the ability of the manager to use the playmaking abilities of Kelechi Iheanacho as a support striker. Linking with either Taiwo Awuni or Osimhen, who has just been named the player of the month in Italy for his exploits with Napoli. You look at the abundance of attacking talent that we have, and there can be no excuses really for not putting Central African Republic to the sword. I don't think that we'll have a lot to worry about defensively. I think we'll play most of the game on the front foot, but we then need to be able to create and score goals. And we didn't do a lot of that in the last game. Like I said, our 2 goals arrived from defensive blunders. I want to see us creating more. I want to see us being more incisive, packing more threats going forward. And if there's anything that I want to see differently, it will be that. I hear in the goalkeeping position, because Maduka Okoye arrived late, we may be seeing either Francis Ozo or Daniel Akpe. Whoever mans the post, I don't think they will have much to do. But you would expect also that on the occasions when we have to defend, you want a situation where the defensive unit, the 4 in front of him and himself, whoever that is as the goalkeeper, are able to do the job when it's asked of them. One of the most difficult things to do in football is to stay alert, attentive, and ready, especially when your team has the ball all the time. A lot of times the tendency is for people to switch off because they're not involved, and then on the occasion that the opposition breaks away, they are found wanting. So I hope that doesn't happen today, but I expect a team that is commanding, that bosses the game, that creates chances, and that takes them. And no disrespect to the opposition. It is just what it is. We have superior quality from an individual player standpoint, and we are the better team. Even with, certain key players missing, we still have, so much quality to, on the day, be vastly superior than whatever it is that Central African Republic have to offer.
You're spot on. You sound very confident. I'm going to come to you, Dami, shortly. Before then, the coach general has been talking ahead of the game, and he's kind of wary about the threats posed by the Central African Republic.
Are much better than the last time. I'm speaking about the pitch. They had a good work on it, and I think it's possible to play a better football on this better pitch like last time. Also, the opponent is a good team. It is dangerous to say, because they only have 1 point in this group for the moment, that it will be easy to beat them. So I'm speaking with my players and also with my staff to show that this is a very difficult game, and to say that we must do the 6 points is not a good sentence. At first, we have to try to win this first match at home, playing our good football and missing also some midfielders. We have to replace our defensive midfielders, Ndidi and Tebo. We have also to replace Iwobi. And we're still missing some other players like Chukwueze, like Mofi, who was injured in the last time, Henry. So, no, I think it will be a difficult game because they are strong physically. We saw some videos about them. We had also one member of the staff who was watching the game in Douala, which they played against Liberia. And we had this report, and it's really an interesting team. 5 players are playing in France, 1 in Germany, and the other ones are local players. So we have to be careful, serious, and prepare very well this game.
Ken O'Rourke as the Super Eagles head coach. Obviously, they've got a comprehensive scouting report on the opposition, and that's always a great start. And Dami, a game like this, there's no gimme in international football. Again, you have to turn up and play and avoid any kind of complacency. And you feel if the Super Eagles can avoid being complacent, they should get all 3 points.
Yeah, I like the stance General has. First of all, fantastic to hear him talk about how they have a comprehensive scouting report. Yeah, how one of the staff was there to check the game against Liberia, and then he even knows as many as 5 of their players like they're trained in France. And he mentioned something very important that I'm going to hold on to. We shouldn't underrate Central African Republic because they have just 1 point from their 2 games. In fact, they've not won any of their last 8 matches, getting just 2 draws. But I'll cast our mind back to almost a year ago when we were taking 6 points from the first 2 games for the AFCON qualifiers, and we had a double-header against a certain Sierra Leone team. Going into that game, Sierra Leone were winless in 9. And not 1 win in 9, rather, and they were winless in each of their last 4 games. And guess what happened? We led 4-0, and we let that particular one slip. So Nigerians will remember that we had a situation like that under a year ago, and we do not want a repeat of that. Also, he has some very important decisions, like Bada said, to make in that midfield. I think Kelechi Iheanacho, who has either scored or assisted in each of his last 3 games for Leicester now, goal assist and a goal in his last 3, it shows you that he's adding a lot more than just goals. He's also able to assist. He probably will get to support Victor Osimhen in that number 10 role, if you want to see it as a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2. But we need to hit the ground running, because if we get the 6 points against Central African Republic, we're pretty much through to the next round of the World Cup qualifiers. We don't want a repeat of what happened against Sierra Leone, where we actually need to win our last 2 matches. Let's wrap it up over this double-header, so we can give other players the chances to play the last 2 games.
That's it. You know, the coaches are being criticized a lot for sticking to the players, to the usual suspects, never giving others a chance. But if you seal qualification with 2 games to go, then it'll be a perfect. You would have no excuses whatsoever not to feature some of these new players. And some of these, one of these new players is Taiwo Awoni, is made it back to the Super Eagles camp. Is hoping to finally make his international debut. That's for the senior national team. William Troost Ekong as well too has been talking ahead of the game later today.
We've seen the video obviously of CAR, what they've been doing in the most recent games. They look like a very physical team, and yeah, it's going to be a big challenge for us tomorrow. We're taking every opponent very seriously. I think that's the strength of our teams, that we never underestimate anyone. So yeah, the boys have been training very seriously, and yeah, we're looking forward to the game tomorrow. Of course, it's going to be nice to be playing in front of our fans again here in Lagos. Yeah, it's always a game that is special. I think that everybody knows how passionate the Lagosians are, and yeah, how important this game is going to be for us. So we're really looking forward to it tomorrow. We want to start these two games off well, especially as we know we're going to be facing them again on Sunday. We have to make sure that we set the tone off well for the first game. But yeah, like I said, we're just looking forward to it now.
I think that's every player's dream. You always want to wear the green-white game for the Super Eagles. For me, it will mean something great for me, which I'll be very, very, very happy about. Being the fact that I've played in the youth before and doing it again for the Super Eagles is something I'll really be thankful to God for. Well, for me, with Kelechi and Fizuo, I think they've always been the good guy. They've always been the guy they are, and meeting them for me is something I'm happy about, because I don't see much different in terms of their personalities and the way we are. They welcome me quite good, and it's just something great to be able to see each other after a couple of years. And my reaction immediately after the game when I got as a player is an honor and a privilege to be part of this team with the kind of talent, with the kind of great players we have in the country. And once you have that kind of call, you should know it's an honor and a privilege. And I think every player will be happy about. And I'm very, very happy. I'm glad about it.
Happy and glad to be part of the Super Eagles setup again. Taiwo Awuni from under 17, under 20, under 23 player, now looking to make the big step up into the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Fingers crossed. We'll see if he gets the opportunity to play later today. But is still with us. But this time, we're going abroad to Milan, to be precise, and give you updates coming from the UEFA Nations League. And I'm afraid to tell you all that Italy have lost their long unbeaten run of 37 matches. No thanks to Ferran Torres, who scored twice for Spain as they advanced into the final of the UEFA Nations League. Bada, over to you. What a game yesterday at the San Siro. The Italians looking to maintain that incredible unbeaten run, but then Spain had other ideas.
It was a barnstormer of a game, particularly the first half. One of the best games I have seen in recent times. Two superb teams with so much quality from back to front. But the Spanish team had the better game plan from the off, if you ask me. The way Luis Enrique set up, they were going to always have more control of the ball, but they also had a plan to attack. If there was a weakness in the Italian team, it would be on the right side of their defense, where Oyarzabal was clearly detailed to run in behind and get those balls across very quickly for Ferran Torres to do damage with. So what they did every time was Marcos Alonso and Oyarzabal sort of doubled up on the right-sided defender for Italy. What they did was, they played Marcos Alonso closer to the halfway line, such that he was some sort of decoy for Oyarzabal to run beyond the right back and pull Bonucci out. And that's how the first goal arrived. But if you saw the positioning of Bonucci, as at when Oyarzabal put in the ball, he was in the right back position. And that's because Marcos Alonso had drawn the right back out and played the ball beyond him, and Bonucci felt the need to go close up that gap, and that left only one defender when the ball came into the box for Ferran Torres, to tap in. Overall, I thought Luis Enrique's tactical nous has to be applauded. If you looked at the two teams, obviously with Italy having not lost a game at home, I think since 2009 or was it 1999, and on this impressive 37 match unbeaten run, they were odds-on favorites to actually, beat Spain, especially because they also beat them at the Euros a couple of months ago. But this was a different ball game. The Spanish were very, very confident in their tactical setup, the plan, the strategy, and they kept at it. I think Italy started out the stronger of the two teams, created the earlier chances, but from like the 9th or 10th minute when the Spaniards got a foothold in the game, they didn't relinquish their position. Sergio Busquets in the middle of the pack, Gavi, the 17-year-old Spaniard who became the youngest to play a football game for the Spanish national team since, I think, 1970-something. They were immense. Koke as well, immense in central midfield. They were quicker. They were thinking quicker. They were executing their passes and the quality of the movement as well. And because they didn't play a traditional number 9 like Alvaro Morata, it was so difficult for the Italian centre backs to pick up anyone because they had fluidity. That the three up front, Oyarzabal, Ferran Torres, and Sarabia. There was a lot of movement about them that, most of the time they were midfielders. And in the twinkle of an eye, they were in the final third, getting on the end of deliveries into the box. So Italians just really couldn't get going, and their course wasn't held by the sending off of Bonucci. And I thought, I thought it was a deserved red card, a second yellow card. That was a straight elbow to the face of Sergio Busquets, deserving of the dismissal. And from that point on, it was always going to be a big mountain to climb. For the Italians. Again, the Spaniards.
Kindly hold your thoughts. We need to go on a break. When we come back, we'll let you, wrap it all up concerning the Italians and the Spaniards in the UEFA Nations League. Join us again. Welcome back to Channel Sports this morning. I've still got Dami in the studio. I haven't forgotten you, Dami. But before then, I'd let Bada to just finish up on what he was saying on the Italy versus Spain match.
Yeah, so I mean, the Italians they were a man short from the first half. It was so difficult to get back into the game. They huffed and puffed, created a few chances. I forgot to mention the best chance of the game, arguably in the first half, actually fell to Lorenzo Insigne.
How did you miss that?
He missed an open net. But the Spaniards were, for me, the better team. They were cleverer. They were better organized. They moved the ball well. And they used it. And the defensive setup wasn't bad as well. They played the ball out of defense very confidently, beating the press every time the Italians went and pressed them high off the pitch. They kept confident and kept passing it competently and moving the ball along the lines and through the lines. And creating chances and dominating play. And so it continued through the second half. And then they got a second goal. And what a goal it was. One of the best team goals you'll see. The quality of the passing, the way they picked the Italians apart. And then when the ball did arrive to the head of Ferran Torres, the way he cleverly guided it back across the goal from where Donnarumma was coming into the bottom corner. It was an art of a goal. It was so gorgeously created, so well worked. I mean, I thought the Spanish team was full value for their win on the night. It reminded me of their performance against Germany about a year ago when they put 6 past the Germans. It was a less performance. Yes, sort of gloss over it for Italy because they got a late consolation, but the Spaniards were deserved winners on the night. Yeah, there was no doubt about who the better team was.
No doubt whatsoever. We saw a masterclass in football, ball retention coming from the Spaniards on the day. We also saw a debut for 17-year-old midfielder from Barcelona. Gavi didn't look out of place at all. But before we let you go, just 2 minutes. No, not 2 minutes. 1 minute on the second semi-final match between France and Belgium later tonight. Who's going through? Quickly, 1 second.
I think if the Belgians don't win this, then this golden generation might actually not have won anything meaningful because I actually back them. I think they've been number one on the FIFA ranking for so long because of the consistency of their performances, but they need to win a silverware.
Yeah.
And they probably have a better chance than this since the World Cup when they finished third. I think they can take this French team on and beat them.
Okay.
But it's not going to be easy because obviously the French are world champions. It's the highest ranked team in the world versus the current world champions.
Right.
It's going to be fireworks. But I back the Belgian team just because I think that there's a lot more riding on this for them, and there's no excuses really. Just look at what you find in the picture there: Hazard, and Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah, Lukaku. I mean, it's just so much quality all round. And same can be said of the French. Only that, the French didn't excite me during the Euros. Karim Benzema is back in the fold. But as a unit, I don't think there's a lot of communication and understanding between them or among them. And overall, I think Mbappe is sort of distracted, both at club and national team level.
Right.
For that reason, I feel like Belgium is just better placed to go and do the business tonight. But it would have the making of, or the make of potential cracker about it that we look forward to another exciting 90 minutes of football.
Indeed, should be a cracker between France and Belgium later tonight in the semifinals of the UEFA Nations League. Bada, many thanks for joining us for on the show, your great analysis and all of that. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All right, cheers. Let's get the thoughts of the Belgian coach now, Roberto Martinez. Roberto Martinez speaking ahead of tonight's game against France. Dami, quick one. France, Belgium looks like equally matched. Teams are taking on each other. How do you see this one playing out?
Very tricky to call. Very tricky to call. I know France have only won one of their last 6 games, which was the very last game that they played. And Belgium have been the top-ranked team since 2018. They can't stop winning. But my worry for Belgium, whenever they've played these really good sides, they lost to Italy at the Euros, they lost to France at the World Cup, they lost to England in the Nations League. At a point as well, Italy knocked them out of Euro 2016, beat them in the group stage in Euro 2016. It seems when they play the really big powerhouses, they can't just find something. I think France might edge this one. It might be another situation like we saw at the 2018 World Cup where France gets 1 goal and it ends there.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see how that pans out later. Today, help me with the papers. Let's just have a look at what the headlines are for this morning. We're starting with Complete Sports. And Osimhen is moving like it's a moving train. That's a story concerning the Fabio Capello. Yeah, that's the one talking about Victor Osimhen's hot form at the moment. There's also a story concerning Trustekong saying the CAR game is like a final for the Super Eagles indeed. Okoye ruled out of CAR clash. That was expected after reporting to camp late. Liverpool suffered blow in Adeyemi pursuits. Mbappe's PSG contract talks going well. That's very interesting. Barca to sell Mtiti in January. Man City plan Holland January talks. Let's go to Sporting Life now. Osimhen is the best as a Player of the Month award in Italian Serie A. Why not? After scoring all of those goals for Napoli. There's also a story concerning Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo gets paid more than 3 Premier Leagues entire squad. Wow, that's quite funny. Gota offers to help Man City sign Holland. Interesting. Anthony Joshua is sulking. That's after losing to Alexander Usyk in their heavyweight title clash. Early Aaron are revealing that particular story. And last but not the least is Sporting Sun. Osimhen is best in Italy for September. Congratulations to the Super Eagles forward. Barca owes £97 million in transfer fees. Every day you open the papers, you see one story about Barca. Oh, it's terrible. They're in such a bad state right now. Sterling open to Barcelona transfer. NFF mourns a liar. And there's also Tyson Fury. I'll terrorize Wilder. That's ahead of their trilogy. So that's it for the papers. And Dami, let's quickly use this opportunity to commiserate with the families and friends and colleagues of Ben Alaya, who sadly passed away yesterday.
Devastating news. We know all he's done for our industry. As a media officer at a point, and he's worked with different newspapers, and he was generally a very lovable person.
Very.
I didn't get to really talk to him one-on-one, but I was usually at places where he was, and you could see how people were around him. He was very cordial, and I'm just praying for the family and those connected to him that they have the fortitude to bear this loss. It's been a tough last 1 or 2 months for Nigerian football generally. And I just hope that we get to move on from this. He will be sorely missed. He was such a wonderful man.
Very sad. Indeed, our thoughts and prayers once again with Ben Elias, families, friends, and colleagues. I want to thank you for your time on the show.
It's always a pleasure to be on spot
Thank you
this
all
morning.
for watching as well. Enjoy the rest of your day.